Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for internet technology professionals whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We are here to provide solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, this is Joanne Victoria from AskJoanneVictoria.com. I'm a transformational life coach, speaker, and author of 7 books. I also have this wonderful podcast that I am hosting right now, and it is for information technology professionals whose work-life balance has imploded and who want more fun, more confidence, more success, and more inner peace. I interview experts in the areas of health and wellness, spirituality, technology, leadership, communication, and mindfulness, to name but a few. The Sanity Project is a platform for experts in these areas to share their wisdom, expertise, and solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Our guest today comes from the IT world, and her name is Susan Barber. Her website link is Susan, M as in Mary, Barber.com. And Susan Barber is an executive leadership coach with over 20 years as an information technology and leadership executive. She left her corporate career to start her own business as an executive coach with a focus on helping leaders, their teams, and organizations reach their potential. She created an enterprise organization at her company focused on building leadership for women in over 100 locations. This group challenged the status quo and won awards for the programs, awareness, and use of technology to connect the organization with the message of positioning women for leadership roles. Yay, team. Susan loves working with IT organizations to instill best practices, build strong partnerships, and increase leadership capabilities. Leveraging her knowledge of IT and leadership development helps her to quickly assess the current state, identify gaps, and implement solutions to meet the organization's needs. And welcome to our show, Susan M. Barber.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I know we were connected by someone else, by a third party, and that's been almost the way that I've gotten most of my guests. They've been referrals.
That's
and I really appreciate, I'm lucky that way. And I'm glad that you are here because you are in the world.
I wish I would have known about your podcast when I was still at my corporate job. That would have been awesome.
Well, I just started, actually, this podcast just started on May 4th of this year.
Oh.
And I've just published my 24th episode. I publish weekly, and I'm sure to have at least 52 if I can plug some more recordings in there by next May 4th.
Awesome.
So, yes, thank you. So what problem will you be solving today for Internet pros that will help them live a more peaceful, successful, fun life, Susan Barber?
So I think it's that technology is so great in so many ways, but it connects us and it makes us more productive. We can get more done. But I also think that it doesn't necessarily always give you the time that you need to think, to be creative, to disconnect a little bit, just to have some time to think, come up with new ideas, be innovative. And I know not everyone can take a 2-week vacation, but I think you can always spend at least 10 to 15 minutes a day just with your family, doing things that really help you see things differently. Go outside, take a walk. And when I started doing this myself, I got up a little bit earlier in the morning and I spent like just 10 or 15 minutes just kind of being quiet and not really doing anything in the first thing in the morning when it's still quiet in the house before the kids get up. And I found that it really helped me clear my head, and it allowed me to have a lot more ideas and that I could focus on what I needed to accomplish that day. And I think work-life balance is a bit of a misnomer. We used to call it work-life integration, but it's really trying to take care of yourself, your family, finding ways to integrate your work and your life together. And that may look different for every person. I personally came home from work, got dinner, helped kids with homework, and then I may do some more work later on. But I think it looks different depending on who you are and what your life looks like. And you just have to make sure that you're really taking care of yourself and your family, because at the end of the day, those are the priorities in your life. And if you don't have a good foundation in your personal life, I think it just makes a big challenge to have success in your career.
I totally agree, and I also agree with you on the concept of work-life balance. Work-life balance is the accepted terminology out there in the great big world, but I prefer that people, if they're going to use it, they reframe and life balance, not work-life balance. That you fit your work into your life, not vice versa. And the word integration, of course, works wonderfully, but I've seen too many people when I was dealing with entrepreneurs that they would just work and not have any life at all, none. Spend no time with anyone, and I think that is very prevalent in the IT world, which is one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, and you do what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I definitely felt it myself when I was working, and I was managing global programs which were across multiple time zones. And you feel like you're trying to work across all of them, and it's just not possible and not sustainable to do that.
So what other ideas do you have for the IT professional, be they a leader or a contractor or FTE or anybody that considers themselves a professional, project manager, etc.? How can they have a more successful life and still work the hours that are demanded today? I find that if anybody has any bandwidth left in their brain, their superiors are giving them more problems to solve, more prospects, more problems, more projects. They don't tap into the employee. I'll just label them employees for now. They don't tap into the employee to see, do you have time? They never ask if you have time. They just make an assumption that the employee has the bandwidth to accept more responsibilities. How do you handle that when you're dealing with leaders?
Well, one of the things that helped me, I think, and I really wish I would have thought of it sooner, was looking at your calendar and looking at the number of meetings that you're attending, and try to really look at it objectively and say, is that a meeting I really need to be at? Is that a meeting that someone I could delegate, on my team to go to instead? Is it a meeting we even still need to have? I think we get in this cycle of attending meetings and, having these conversations that we've been doing, and you don't even question it anymore. You start to just go on autopilot and just go. And it may or may not be even beneficial anymore to have those conversations. So I started to reflect on some of the meetings that I was having. Could we combine meetings? Could we eliminate meetings? Could we do something different and just have a 5-minute conversation? And it really helped me free up some time on my calendar. And the other thing I did was I started to block out time either in the morning or around lunchtime, where that was kind of my time and nobody got it. And
right.
I know that's not always possible, but I think for as much as you can, if your calendar's already blocked, people will try to find a different time. So leverage what you can to take control of your calendar. And I think it'll just give you that, feeling of control, that you could at least do something to help yourself, have some time to think, to have some time to prioritize, do what you need to get done.
Well, I find that in some companies that are huge, and some of them are just beyond comprehension as to the size, there is very little oversight, and there mostly is just orders coming from the top down. So they start at the SVP, the AVP, the client even, and just coming straight down to the person sitting in the cube. And the person sitting in the cube, which is those are the people I represent sort of as a group, because those are the ones that have the issues. Those are the ones that are gaining 20 pounds a year. Those are the ones that leave jobs or don't leave jobs because they just give up. They haven't reached their Peter principle. They have just given up to the corporate environment. What do these people do? How do they take care of themselves, and how can they communicate with quote unquote leadership, be it the person right above them or the project manager or the product manager or whoever it might be, and go further up and say, hey, we don't need all of these meetings. We don't need all of these people at these meetings. In fact, when we have the developers at the meetings, that's a real problem, because there are too many different perspectives and points of view on things that we're talking about things that should already have been done. So not everybody's on the same wavelength. That's
Mm-hmm.
my current experience with my clients.
Yeah, I think you take it from a standpoint of, I'm trying to make sure we're doing the right things, not just doing, I mean, you can do everything as much as you can, but there's only so many hours in the day, and you really need to be able to focus as much as you can on getting things done with quality. So I've always taken the approach of, here's the work on my plate or on my team's plate, and here are the things that we're doing, and here are some recommendations that I'm taking forward to eliminate some of these conversations. I mean, at a certain level, if you have a really good manager, that you don't have to have those conversations with them. You should just be able to do it. But for the people who are below those, leaders who are trying to manage their own time and get things done, I think it's a matter of, sharing the information. I'm going to 25 meetings. I don't think it's relevant for me to be at all these meetings. I'm making the executive decision here to say that I'm not going to attend these other meetings and someone else will cover, or we're going to change the way that we do them, or we're not going to do them at all. And I think if they're a good manager that they're talking to, they will hear that and recognize and see that as a positive thing. If they're not hearing that, I think it's incumbent upon them to take it upon themselves and say, does it make sense for me to go? Okay. And, at the end of the day, you have to have some ownership over your own career and what you're doing, and stand up for yourself and say, either I can continue to go to all these meetings, then we're going to have to look at my workload, or I'm going to need help. And I think that's one of the hardest things, especially for IT people in general. They're used to just doing a lot of things on their own and making things happen and coming up with solutions and problem solving. And I think it's okay to ask for help. And when you do that, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And it's showing that you want to do the right thing for the organization. You want to accomplish all the goals that we have to do, but you literally cannot do it, in the amount of time that you have. And if they're also a good manager, they'll see that that person's, really taking the initiative to do the right thing for the organization. It's not about them trying to, push off work to anyone else. I think it's more about, I want to do the right thing. I want to do it with quality, but there's literally not enough time for me to do that.
Correct. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, when I started in this arena, I was amazed at all of the meetings that occurred. Very few of them were in person. They're on the phone, on the computer, and they're global. As you say, you've worked globally, and that, of course, creates some issues if you have to. If you're on West Coast time and you have to speak to people in India on their time, you're working either very early or very late. And very early is very, very early, and very late is very, very late. And, not all of these people are compliant or willing to do this. And how do you deal with, you are working on the leadership level. So how do you advise the people that you're coaching leadership points to deal with the people directly below them, because it starts from the top and works its way down no matter what you're doing, and then it gets jammed up at the bottom or almost to the bottom. So how do you advise your leadership executives to communicate with their next level down, at least?
Well, I usually, talk to them about how is your team doing? Do you see that they're engaged? Do you see that they're performing well? Do they, are they so stressed out that they really can't seem to function very well right now? And I think it's up to that leader to start to pay attention and watch how their people are performing. And if they're a good leader, they know that the person maybe worked through the weekend. They know that the person worked late into the night or has to cover, an implementation or something. I think even just saying thank you to those people is a big deal. I find and have found in the past that a lot of people just have almost accepted now that it's just part of the job. And I think even just saying thank you, taking them out to lunch, buying them a cup of coffee, saying, I really, really appreciate that you did that. And in some organizations, you may get comp time for that. I just don't know that a lot of people even get time to take that, unfortunately, anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's an opportunity for that leader to really pay attention and to have those conversations with their team in a one-on-one. How is your workload? How are things going? Is there something that I can do to help you? It's about that leader setting the tone that I don't want you to be burned out. I don't want you to, have so many priorities that you can't really function and focus on any of them. But if that leader doesn't really pay attention and, the person doesn't feel like they're appreciated, doesn't feel like they're doing all the things that they're doing for any, good reason. So I think it's up to that leader to really pay attention and ask those questions. And that's what I tell them to do, because at the end of the day, your team is everything. If you can't, inspire and motivate and help your team keep moving forward, you can't accomplish anything as a leader. So it's really that kind of a mindset you have to think about is, am I doing all that I can do for this team? Am I motivating them and helping them and removing obstacles if they need me to, so that they can really do the best work that they can do? Because at the end of the day, we're kind of all in that together. And it's not going to be, their fault. It's going to be my fault as the leader if I don't, make it successful.
What about this enterprise organization at your company? Is this something that you can talk about where you focused on building leadership for women in over 100 locations? Because I know to this day, I don't, in the past 30 years, I have not seen there's a lot of posturing, but I have not seen significant change in leadership roles for women in corporations or on boards of directors. It seems to be making headlines again, as it did 20, 30 years ago, that, we're bringing more women on board now in the leadership or directors roles. You challenge the status quo, but what happened? Give me a story about around that, because I know we're going to have a lot of women listening.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an uphill battle. I'm not going to lie. We had an opportunity at our company to really transform and start to think about how women leaders are viewed and how men can help them. And what was interesting, we put together a program to really bring men and women together in a room. And we went through different modules to talk about some of the challenges that women had. So, sitting at the table, saying I'm sorry too much, all of those things that women just unfortunately seem to do and don't even necessarily always realize it. And what was interesting about that is having these small groups with men in the room and talking about it is that many of the men said, I really want to help. I really want to support the women in my group. I don't know how. And I think that's interesting. First of all, well, you need to learn, but
we'll teach you.
We'll teach you. So we started having really honest conversations where the women in the room would share their perspective, the men in the room would share their perspective, and I think it really helped. And kind of a surprise that was beneficial about the whole thing was that they really started to manage their teams differently, but they also took the messages home to their wives, their daughters, their sisters, and started sharing what we were talking about with them. And so I feel like there's these conversations that may feel like they're just one-on-one and they may not go anywhere, but you don't really know how many other people it can touch if you start having these honest conversations and say, you know what, we have a problem. We have to talk about it. We have to do something different. We can't just keep saying, let's have, gaps. Let's not have gaps anymore in wages. Let's not do this. Let's have more people. You have to really start talking about it and being supportive of making those things happen. And unfortunately, I left before we could do as much as I would have loved to have done. We did it for 2 years and we won some external awards based on what we had done. And we really started to get people to think about it. We had, like I mentioned, all these locations. And what I found was interesting with that is a lot of these were manufacturing locations and, very few women in positions where they felt like they had any say. And so they kind of felt alone, that nobody was listening to them. They would make comments and nobody would hear them. Nobody would value their opinion. And I think just bringing people together and having this community of people that you could talk to and learn from was a really big thing for them, because it just made them feel like I'm not the only one going through this. I'm not the only one out here alone trying to figure it out for myself. And I think wherever possible, build community, tell people, what you're trying to do, get sponsors on board with you, and just have the honest conversations, because it will make a difference. It may not be tomorrow, but it's going to make a difference. And the more we can educate people, that's what's going to make a difference for people.
Well, and I think the women have had the responsibility for stewardship for our companies, our planet, for so long. I can't even conceive of the number of years involved. And in my opinion, women are the true leaders because they do have that stewardship capability. They have a macro view of the world, by and large. They have a macro view of the world that can see what needs to be done. And I'm not talking about the hysterical people that are out there. I'm talking about, because
there are some, yeah.
There are some. And on some level, certainly 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 40, 50, 60 years ago, that was good in the sense that it woke people up going, oh, something else is going on. But I'm looking at from a larger perspective, women can either make the great leaders or help their men become greater leaders by giving them the insights to say, rather than saying, oh, I don't know what to do, they could help these men know what to do if the men's ego could be put aside temporarily so they would hear the women that are helping them be a better leader. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was our goal, was to have these first smaller groups, I will call them, and then have those people create their own groups in the organization. And so, theoretically in about, a year to 18 months, we would have had everybody included in one of those groups at some point or another. And I think it's important to try to get the people who may be the people that you don't necessarily think are the best supportive people, turn them around, and they will become your biggest advocates.
Yes.
And that was really a kind of my goal, was to pick some people who are going to obviously be supportive, but pick those people that I thought would be good stewards of the advocacy out to the organization, because they were looked upon as, really strong leaders in different parts of the organization. And we purposely chose different parts of the organization. So it wasn't just one function or one area. It was across the whole organization that we did this. So I really wished I could have seen what that could have looked like, if we could have spent that year really doing that a lot more. But all the feedback we got was extremely positive, from our sponsor all the way down through the organization, all the people who participated in it. We obviously got some, feedback of things that we could change and do better, which is great. And I think that's what you always want to do.
Yes.
But I think it was just a really neat thing that we did. And I really, really was proud of, where it landed.
Yeah, I think more of that is really necessary in the corporate world for any size corporation. Not dependent on the number of people who work at the organization, but dependent on what the organization is trying to contribute in the world. I mean, I know they have a bottom line, but there is also, got to be another reason for them being in existence. It's about their contribution, whatever their contribution is. So what I wanted to also ask you is, what lesson or advice has stuck with you through all this time?
Well, I think one of the biggest lessons I learned was that, as an individual contributor, you have a lot of success, and you move, forward, maybe up through multiple levels as an individual contributor. And I think that you build in your head, I'm really great. I'm doing great things. They see that I'm doing great things, and then they promote you and put you in charge of a project or a team. And initially this happened to me. It took me a couple times to learn this lesson, but I kept trying to do what I was always doing. I kept trying to do everything. And part of that reason was because I got promoted within a group that I was part of before, which is an even bigger challenge, I think, than just walking into a group where, maybe they don't know you as well. And so because I knew so much about the group, I knew everyone's jobs, it made it really challenging for me, because I knew that there was things that I could help them with and move them along faster, or I could jump in and help them. And obviously that's not helping them develop and be successful. So that was a lesson that I learned and recognized that I needed to do something different. And so that was, many years ago, but it stuck with me for a long time because I see it happening. I was just coaching someone this morning, very same thing. he is, just used to being able to jump in and do stuff and make things happen. And so he's struggling with letting go of doing all of that stuff and really delegating to his team. So I think the lesson is, delegation is key. Learn how to do that well. It gives your team the opportunity to get exposure to management. It gives them the opportunity to learn new skills. And at the end of the day, it gives you as the leader the time to focus on what you're actually supposed to be doing. If you're doing all those things for your team, you don't have time to be building strategy around where your team is going or overseeing all of the programs that you're leading. It doesn't give you time to manage up in communication with your leadership, which is really what your role is about. So those things, in addition to developing your team, are really what the leader is supposed to be focused on. So I think it's a really big mindset shift. And what I work with a lot of people going from individual contributor roles to leadership roles, or even they've been a leader, but now they're trying to get, better. They've stepped up to the next level and they're still doing those same things that they were always doing as an individual contributor. So it's a big mindset shift that takes some time, but it is, I'd say, crucial. The most crucial thing you could do is focus on how to delegate, how to stay out of the details. Let your team tell you what's going on, follow up with them, check in with them. But at the end of the day, they're responsible for doing it. They may not do it the same way you do it, but the outcome is what's important. And you need to let them learn, and they may fall. And you have to, be ready to help them and give them some feedback if they need it. But they're going to learn out of that experience. You always learn more from kind of failure or falling down on something than you do from just making it happen beautifully. So think of those lessons that you can help your team learn, and then focus on yourself and what you can do to really learn your role, be great at your role as a leader. Because if you want to go to the next level, you've got to be able to create some, I call them little superheroes below you, and have one of those people hopefully take your job at some point and you can move to the next one.
Right. So this is all extremely important information. So I know that our listeners are taking notes because I'm taking notes. And I still want these people to be able to contact you on the internet. So can you give some of your social media sites where people can come and find you?
Sure. So I do a lot of stuff on Twitter. So I'm at Susan M. Barber on Twitter. I have a Facebook group for leaders, so if any of you are interested in joining, feel free. I have a little questionnaire, so just mention in there that you heard me on Joanne's podcast, and that way I can, know and let her know that people are reaching out. But we do have a lot of conversations in this Facebook group around leadership and how to help each other be successful. There's people from various industries and various parts of the world, so it's really helpful. And then the last thing is I send out a blog every weekday morning, which talks about leadership, lessons that I've learned, sharing of books and resources that I think would be helpful to people. I share some client, situations so that people can learn from those as well. And then on Fridays, I send out kind of a recap summary of all the resources I've found during the week, my own blogs. And then, if I'm on a podcast, I share that as well. So hopefully really good way to get a lot of information quickly.
So where would they find your blog?
I actually put it on my website, but if they join my mailing list, they'll get it directly to their inbox. So you can just go to my website and it'll give you a prompt to enter your email address if you're interested in joining it. That would be great. Super.
Yes, I think everybody should, because I think the things that you are talking about, the tactics, the strategies, apply across the board. And these are not distinctive only to internet technology. Well, I want everybody listening, as soon as you're finished listening to this recording, go to iTunes and write. This requires you to use words, people. Write a review of Susan Barber, and I want you to give her a great review because she deserves it. She has been wonderful today. You can also give the Sanity IT Project podcast 5 stars, and I'd appreciate that. And go to my website at askjoannevictoria.com. That's ask, A-S-K, Joanne with an E, Joanne, Victoria, like the Queen.com, and sign up for free book, and to get onto my mailing list, you could get a copy of the True Life Handbook, a guide to transform your life. And what else do we need to talk about today? Go visit Susan M. Barber's Facebook group, creatingleadershipconnections.com. Okay, people? Thank you very much, Susan, for being here. I really appreciate you just giving us your time, because I know your time is precious and valuable with all the traveling you've been doing, and I appreciate you being here. Thanks very much, and have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com and continue the conversation on her podcast page. And get a free copy of her book, The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.